Happy Monday, everyone. I'm not sure how long this is going to be up. And the only reason why I am going live on this issue is because it keeps coming up. And I just believe that the newspapers didn't, they didn't get the story right. And I really don't like the vision in the community behind misinformation. And I don't believe that it was necessarily intentional by the news to do this, but it still happened. And whether it was intentional or not, there was an impact. So I'm going to talk about this Coach U issue, and I'm going to talk about my perspective on it. There is a newspaper article, a couple of them, and one is saying like, do we celebrate Coach Ujalak or not? And it's written in a way that makes it seem as if um, there are certain board members who didn't want to celebrate him. And I want to give the backstory of it. And I'm gonna be honest, there's going to be some people who are gonna be pissed off. And you have every right to feel how you feel because I have every right to feel how I feel. And I'm gonna be real honest about that. I'm gonna be real straight up about it. There's gonna be some people who's be like, why are we even talking about this? There's bigger issues out there to be addressing. And I'm in agreement with you. There are bigger issues to address. And that was part of my irritation, if you will, of it even being on the board agenda. So I want to talk about kind of what happened, and I want to give some background, some history on why I was concerned about the issue. And I want to acknowledge other people's feelings because there are some people who have some very strong feelings about this issue. And I acknowledge that you have strong feelings and you have a right to your feelings. And I have my feelings too. And I have a right to mine. So let me get into it. Um, I was I received. I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I'm not speaking on behalf of Ben Harbor area schools. I'm speaking on behalf of me um, as a parent, as a alum of Ben Harbor, and also as a board member. So minding my business, and I get a email that indicates that it's an invitation to a celebration. And in the invitation, the focus was on Coach Usalak. And it was saying that the Benton Harbor Area School Board and these other entities are celebrating Coach Usalak. And the question that came up for me is how can the how can anyone make that decision and say that the Ben Harbor Area School Board was celebrating Coach Ushlag if nobody asked the Ben Harbor Area School Board? It wasn't on our agenda to vote on. It wasn't on our agenda to discuss. And quite frankly, um, Coach Ushlag had quit. And when he left, he had made a comment that he had done an interview in the Herald Palladium, and he indicated that perhaps Ben Harbor um, schools should be closed, and the kids should go to other schools. Okay, so I want to be clear about that. I have not met Coach Uslak personally in the way of like me and him having a conversation. I don't have anything personally against him. I just remember him leaving. I remember him making that very public comment. And then I remember shortly after that comment, I remember having to fight like hell to keep our help, to work with the community and to work with the kids, to keep and to work with other people around the state to try to keep our schools open. Because shortly after he made that public comment, there were others who joined in agreement with him. And there was a threat, a very real threat by the governor of Michigan to shut down Den Harbor High School and to divide the kids amongst the other schools in the neighboring communities. And for me, I understood anybody's frustration who, doesn't like the way things are going in public schools or in our public school, and they feel how they feel. Like, I understand that frustration. But I think that there is a distinction between you're upset and you want to fight within the system and you want to fight for resources to come to the schools, or you want to fight the people who are causing harm to our kids and you want to call them out for, doing the wrong thing. I think there's a difference between that and publicly saying, shut it down and divide the kids amongst the county, right? We have a difference in how we view the Ben Harbor, right? In that moment, when I saw that, I was angry. I ain't gonna lie. I was angry when I saw that. And I have every right to be angry about that. My anger was not about dismissing what he's done for our kids. It's not about dismissing Coach Uselak as a human being who perhaps cared about our kids, who may have put blood, sweat, and tears into what he did for the football program, who may have helped turn the football program around. I was angry about a public comment to dismantle our district and divide our children amongst the surrounding communities, as opposed to using his platform and power to say, hey, this person is causing harm to the kids. They passed this policy, or they stopped me from being able to do this. We need to replace that person who did this thing to our kids. Or we need to replace these entities that are causing harm to our kids. If he would have said that, if he would have used his platform for that, Coach Uselak would have had no problems with me. If he would have called out anybody in the district who did something that caused harm to our kids. Well, no, I don't care if they black, white, green, blue, orange, whatever. If they cause harm to our kids and he called them out, then it is what it is, and I got his back on that. But when you say maybe they should shut down the schools and divide these kids up amongst the other schools, now I got a problem with that. And maybe there are some people who say, hey, he's a great football coach. He really cared. I don't care what he said. We need to celebrate him. Okay. You have a right to feel how you feel, and I have a right to feel how I feel. And I didn't like that. Okay. And I'm trying my best not to use profanity on this live and to be, as calm as possible. But I didn't like that. Okay. And the fact that he said it and then the governor picked it up, that felt strategic to me. And I'm not expecting anybody else to make those connections or to assume anything. But for me, when somebody uses a talking point and another person in power picks up that talking point and then runs with it and puts their power behind it to then work to dismantle our community, then, I'm going to have an issue. Rising in alignment. Happy Monday, my sister Angela Doyle. So good to see you on. So I just want to be clear. It's not anything against him personally. I had an issue with that statement. And to me, I didn't hear him go back and say, you know what? Maybe I was harsh in that public statement about shutting down that school, right? Maybe that wasn't fair, and I apologize, right? I never heard that apology. And for me, as a community, I feel like we need to have more pride in who we are, and we need to stand up for ourselves, and we need to have better boundaries about how we allow people to just disrespect us like that, right? I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've done. And you can feel how you feel, but when you make a public comment to dismantle us, I think you need to be held accountable to your words, right? Because those comments had consequences, right? Those comments had consequences. And for me, I think it would have been better if he would have apologized. And if our leaders have just a sense of pride and say, you know what, I disagree with that statement, right? Benton Harbor High School deserves to exist. We have a legacy of students who have overcome structural years and years of disinvestment, structural racism, and there is an active strategy to dismantle public schools, and we're feeling the brunt of that. And we need all our leaders to step in and come in and fight for us and with us. And if you quit because you're frustrated, you have every right to do that. But don't shit on us on your way out. Excuse my language. Don't do that on your way out, right? Or if you do out of anger or frustration or whatever, fix that, right? And sometimes our certain people in public office, they don't require the folks who caused us harm to fix the harm that they caused, right? And they'll be harder on the people in the community than they are on people outside of the community who have caused us harm. They quick to forgive the people outside of the community who caused us harm, but then the people inside of the community who are fighting like hell to try to keep the community together, there are people in leadership positions who try to punish us. And so for me, that was my issue. My issue was I didn't like what he said. There was a real impact to what he said and what he had done. And I felt like, how can you say this is on behalf of the board? We're going to celebrate this person above everybody else. I believed in celebrating the whole football team. Let's celebrate the football team. Let's celebrate, and I'm not saying don't celebrate Coach U, but let's not put him in the forefront of everything right now. There are a lot of people who struggled to hold that football program together in spite of a lot of strategies to cause harm to our community and to our schools. And those people don't get enough credit. They don't get enough credit. And, for example, Coach Burton, he coached Drake Bell, who went on to the NFL, made a difference in his life, right? He's not asking for any accolades or anything like that. All I'm saying is sometimes we have people in our own community who are imperfect. Everybody's making mistakes, but just they're not getting the credit. They're not getting all the things that they need. And that was the point that I was making. One, how can a press release go out and say that the Board of Education is celebrating this person when that was never on our agenda? The Board of Education wasn't asked, right? So whoever, I'm not sure if it's the athletic, I'm not sure. Whoever made that decision, come to the Board of Education first, ask us first, and then if you got that permission, if we pass a resolution to celebrate them, then do that. Or just say the athletic department is celebrating him. The athletic department is celebrating him. That's fine. But then I also am just kind of asking, like, are you making sure that the other coaches have everything that they need in order to run their programs? Are you making sure that when you compare Coach Uselak to the other coaches over the years, did we as a district make sure that they had everything that they needed? And are you making sure that you celebrating the whole team? Or are you putting this person above everybody else who came in a different way? Let's be real. Coach Uselak is an excellent coach, and I could never take that away from him. And I'm not trying to take that away from him. Okay. And when he came in, I believe his office was this big room in the rec center. And that used to be the room where we used to tutor students. And they cleared that room out, gave him that office, right? There was staff that he wanted on board that ended up becoming an assistant principal over somebody who was black woman who was highly qualified for that position, who quite frankly should have gotten that position. Okay. And then he had the athletic director who was also somebody that was in his circle, right? And we've had coaches who maybe don't get good jobs, maybe can't choose who their coaching staff is, maybe don't get the big office, may not even get basic stuff, right? Who maybe didn't even get basic stuff. Our track team just now got a brand new track, but for a while they were practicing in the hallways. They didn't have a track to practice on, but they still made state. Right? And so all I'm saying is, and there are people in our community, and I want to be real clear. There are people in our community who are trying to help, who want to help, who want to volunteer for stuff, who want to donate and do different things. And because of a lot of the strategic disinvestment, because of the cronyism with people in these political positions, a lot of times they block help from Black people in our community, who want to help our kids, our schools. And that corruption is not just a Benton Harbor thing. That happens state, local, state, federal. That corruption prevents a lot of times us from being able to help our own. And so all I was saying was, when you compare this person to this person, or when you choose to celebrate this person over this person, was it fair? Did you look at all of the other people who've been contributing to the community? The people who was coaching and didn't do that on their way out, right? And so I know that I pissed off, some football players and some community members who really love Coach U. I know that. And I don't apologize for raising the questions that I raise, because anybody who says, maybe you should shut down your schools in a public way, anybody who does that, and my responsibility is to represent the schools. My responsibility is to fight for our kids, to fight for our community, to make sure that money comes into our community, to make sure that we have the resources that we need, to make sure that our kids have the same opportunities as the next community over, who get millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations, right? We don't get all that, right? So if my responsibility is to fight, and I saw the impact of those statements, then I'm not going to apologize for feeling like, well, wait a minute. Don't put my name on that. And if people feel like, well, you could go, Elnora, we prefer to celebrate him and we don't want you on the board anymore. Do your worst, right? If that's your choice, then that is what it is. Then it is what it is. But I just wanted to make it clear that I don't have anything against Coach Uzelak. I have a problem with what he said. I have a problem with the magnitude of what he said. I was impacted by what he said. There was harm because I then had to stop. My son was a senior that year. I then had to stop and fight for the existence of the district, right? And so I just have a different experience. And the person that he was pushing to that they was pushing to get this position at the high school, as when I was a teacher, caused harm to me in my role. And so I saw the impacts of privilege that this person received. I saw a Black woman get pushed out of a job that she deserved. I saw our kids being called names when they were engaging in a cultural thing during prom. That I ain't crazy about, some of the things that our kids do right at prom, but I also understand that my light keep going. I'm just gonna let it go out. I also understand that they're kids and they're going to do some things that don't make sense to me, but they're having fun and they're not hurting anybody. And so some people know what I'm talking about. Some people don't know what I'm talking about right now, but it's connected to what I'm saying. I feel like we celebrate people sometimes, and we give a pass to people who cause harm, and we don't hold them accountable to correct what they did. And I'm just going to use it in terms of like a sports analogy, right? Because I think a lot of times we say that we want Ben Harbor to focus on academics and stuff like that, but a lot of times people give coaches way more leeway than they give the teachers. If the teachers talk to the class the way some of these coaches talk, or have, you know, the power that a lot of these coaches had, y'all would be mad at these teachers. If y'all have had coaches that punched you in the chest, cussed you out, said anything they wanted to say to you, and that was a great coach. If a teacher did it, y'all would be mad, right? But I just want to kind of share in a different perspective what his statement meant to me. So if the football team, if he's the coach of the football team and he told the football team, like, say it ain't looking good. It ain't looking good for y'all. It's halftime. Let's say that they're not winning. And he said, you know what? After you know, when the buzzer rings, when it's time for y'all to get back in the game, why don't y'all just give the ball to the other team? Just give the ball to the other team. Right? If a coach told the team, just give the ball to the other team and go home, that would be unforgivable in sports. Right? Folks would get that. Folks would get that, wait a minute, you ain't for us. Right? If he just got frustrated with the way the team was playing. Y'all looking sloppy out there, just give the ball to the team. What you expect your coach to do is to say, look, it ain't over until we say it's over. It ain't over until the end. So I want you to give it all you got. Right? I want you to give it all you got, and I want you to win for us. But see, people understand that that's an unforgivable offense in a game. But they okayed it when he was talking about our community, our schools. Do you understand that if that interview from the Herald Palladium, if what he recommended for us would have happened, and if people would have given up and took his platform seriously and given up and said, you know what, forget about it. Just give the schools, just close the schools and give the kids to the other schools. So goes our school, so goes our community. That's not okay. How is it that people can understand that if a coach said that in the game, that's indefensible? But if he says it about our community, our legacy, it's okay. It's not okay. And so what I would say is, I'm not trying to stop him from being celebrated, but I do believe that an apology is due. We deserve that. And sometimes when you step in and you want to take up for somebody and you want to put them on a pedestal and all of that, you can do that. But where's your sense of pride and sense of self? Where's your sense of self in that as a leader in the community, talking about my colleagues on the board, talking about the director of athletics, Mayor Muhammad? Where's that sense of self to say, okay, I want to celebrate you because you did all of these great things. And are you going to make corrective action from what you said? Because that caused pain. Or are you going to excuse it? Are y'all going to excuse that? And there are some people like, well, they should shut down the high school. Okay. If you feel like they should have shut down the high school, then you have no clue how valuable our community is. You have no clue how valuable our legacy is. You have no clue what it means to have a high school of your own. And that's not the energy we need. The energy that's going to take us to the next level is to see the gold mine that we're sitting on. Is to see, oh my goodness, I don't care what anybody say. It's a gold mine sitting out there on 870 Colfax. There's a legacy and a tradition of winners sitting over there on 870 Colfax. Not only are we not going to shut it down, we're going to invest in it. And anybody who comes for our Tigers, what did they say? Never try to negotiate with a tiger with your head in their mouth. It's a losing battle. That's the type of energy. Everybody have a right to be frustrated with the politics and the politricks in Benton Harbor. Everybody have a right to be pissed off with the board. I get pissed off with the board. I get pissed off with City Hall. Everybody have a right to be pissed off. But you don't have a right to say shut it down. And we have to have a line that you don't get to cross. Now, you can get mad at home, and you can say that at home, but you don't make no public interview that the governor then picks up. And there were some people in power who were in agreement. We had to fight our own people, and we had to fight Coach U's statement. And so folks can feel how they feel about me. I'm used to people being mad at me. I'm used to people not liking me say what I gotta say. You could be mad at me all day, be big mad. The whole football team can be mad at me. But what I want to encourage you to do is to think about the possibility that we can have both. You can celebrate who you want to celebrate, and you can also stand up for your community. And you can also ask him to walk that back, fix that. Listen, when you said that, that caused us to have to fight for our existence. Mothers who were supposed to be planning for graduations then had to stop that and create speeches to try to change the governor's mind. I'm supposed to be focused on graduation, not whether or not Benton Harbor High School will be there. Everybody who celebrated your class reunion, what if there was no high school to come back to? It's serious. And so when a person has a platform of power, we need to be clear that you don't get to speak death upon us. And I'm not I'm serious. And I'm not playing with that. And it hurt my heart to the core that my own people don't know they value enough to stand up for themselves. when somebody says something like that. Some of my own people. Some people were really appreciative that, you know, we spoke up. But a lot of times those people don't say anything publicly. And so I just want to be clear. That wasn't anything I really wanted to talk about at the board table. That was something that I would have preferred to address behind the scenes, work to figure out how to celebrate everybody, or to just not put the board on it. But the board would have voted, you know, the majority of the board members would have voted in favor of it, right? I just felt like I found it really funny how this is the thing that was allowed to be on the agenda when I've been trying to get a whole lot more important issues on the agenda, right? That have yet to make it on the board agenda. It felt political. It felt like a trap. It felt like controversy to get these people mad at these people. And I was irritated by that, right? But since we're here, we're going to deal with it. And that's it. Like, that's Angela said words carry power, and it is very serious. And Des said, thank you so much for caring the way you do. Thank you, Des. And I do care. And, you know, maybe there's some things about Coach U that I just don't know, right? Maybe there is a side of him that I just don't know. And I'm open to that conversation. And I do appreciate what he did for our children. I'm also clear that there are a lot of other people who also contribute in a major way to our children and our community who have been blocked by a lot of the same people in power. And that's frustrating for me. It is frustrating for me. But I am curious as to what challenges he saw when he was working in Ben Harbor. And I would like to know, you know, how can we correct those things? Because even when you have a good heart and you want to do what's right, there's politics that prevent good people from getting things done. And they do get frustrated and they do want to leave and they do say, well, maybe it shouldn't exist. But I want to encourage people to have a paradigm shift. Instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, instead of getting frustrated with people in power in this community and saying, you know, eliminate it, why not say, okay, what's the specific thing that happened that caused harm, and how can we fix that thing? Don't be so quick to get rid of the assets, the public assets in our community. You ain't got rid of the United States, right? You might be pissed off with the White House, but you don't want to get rid of the White House. You might want to replace the person in the White House. You might want to replace people in Congress. You might want to replace people in the State House. And I want to address something else. Mayor Muhammad said that Governor Whitmer had invested, I think he said like $20 million in the district. And I just want to say that was a time to celebrate the community that stood up for itself and then implored Governor Whitmer to walk back her proposal to shut down the schools, to support the proposal to forgive the debt, and then to invest in the district and in the city because of the courageous people, youth, leaders, community members, networks of folks outside of the community who came together and said that Benton Harbor is worthy of investment. What we cannot do is continue to give politicians credit for fixing the problem when sometimes they caused it. Now, I give Governor Whitmer credit for correcting her proposal and for not shutting down the district. I give her credit for that. I give her credit for signing the bill to forgive the debt after the community came together and stood up for themselves and fought for that. I give her credit for recognizing the power of the people. But what we got to stop doing is allowing people to take credit after real grassroots community members and youth and all of these other people come together and have to fight to get basic resources. Stop making people fight for basic resources. So, Angela said restorative justice sounds like a great way to go. Yes. It's not too late for Governor Whitmer to apologize and to say, hey, you know what? I was given bad information, right? I didn't see the whole picture of Benton Harbor and I made a mistake. I apologize. In addition to that, these are the resources that I've given because I now see things differently. And sometimes people, these politicians, they don't stand up for the community in the way that they should. And it's like right when people in power are willing to apologize, there are certain politicians that celebrate them too soon, right? You can apologize and still, like, it's okay to say you sorry. If you said a wrong thing, if you caused harm, if your powerful words condemned or wrote a community off and it contributed to the racism that they're already surviving, it's okay to say, you know what? I had a blind spot. I made a wrong decision when I said shut that school down. There's a legacy of amazing youth, and those standardized tests don't tell the real story about those people, about our people, about the people of Benton Harbor. And I apologize for saying that. And I want to make amends, and I want to hear about the harm that was caused. Just because you did a great thing here doesn't mean it's okay to say anything you want to say. Sometimes, and I'm going to say this, and y'all can feel however you want to feel about me. But y'all be too quick to tell everybody they can come to the cookout. Oh, this person did such and such. They can come to the cookout unlimited, no matter, do whatever they want to do. No. You don't get to say anything you want to say because you did this good thing. You said that, fix that. Fix it. That's the way I feel. I feel that sometimes we just be too quick, you know. But that's just the way I feel. Should we forgive? Absolutely. We should forgive. I believe in forgiveness. I also believe that a person who caused harm, um, they need to actually be willing to admit what they did, um, just as publicly as they said the foul stuff. So if I do a public interview and I caused harm in that public interview, then I need to do a public interview and I need to fix it just as loud and proud as I caused the harm. But sometimes, folks, y'all excuse, y'all don't care because this person did this thing. Well, I do. I do care because I felt the impact of that. And that is what it is. But that's all. I want to address that. I want to celebrate the youth. I want to celebrate the football teams. I want to celebrate all of the teams who have contributed to our program in Ben Harbor area schools. And I think we're going to have a great year. We're going to have some ups and downs, but I can see like some really positive things happening in Ben Harbor. I went to Superintendent Sanders' professional development with the staff last week. It was amazing. It was amazing, the parts that I saw. And the staff seemed to be inspired. And so we're going to make some decisions and we're going to say some things that we may disagree with from time to time. But at the end of the day, we are Tigers. And I don't believe in the statement of calling us predators, but I'm going to tell you this, we're not going to be your prey. We're not going to be anybody's prey. So that's the mindset that I came into with that issue. Is I just believe that we need to do a better job of making sure that all of the resources get to all of the programs and that every coach has what they need to empower their program. And I applaud him for being able to get resources into the district. And I applaud all of the coaches who have done that as well. And I want to call out some people who sit in political positions that block resources from coming into our community. And that is something that happens. And I wanted to shed light on that there are times that people want to help us. And some people, because they are politically opposed to that group or that person, they block help. They let this person get the help they need. They stop this person from being able to help. And that needs to stop. That dirty politics needs to stop. And so that's what I was shedding light on. So that's that. Y'all have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you for tapping in. Feel how you want to feel. And if there's something that I got wrong, you're welcome to inbox me. You're welcome to inbox me on that. I do care about the academics. I do care about the well-being of our students. But I just want to say this. We have to have a school district in order to serve them. And so it's all connected. And so if we are of the mindset of speaking life into our community, into our schools, if we can get on the same page of speaking life instead of speaking death over it, then that contributes to the overall well-being, the academic performance, the belief of the students, the belief of the teachers. If we can get in alignment on that and speaking life instead of speaking death over, then what's possible? That's where I want to get. And we just got to have healthy boundaries. You just can't say whatever you want to say about our community. I feel strongly about that. I mean, you could say it, but I'm not going to put you on a pedestal after you said some mess like that if you're not willing to correct that. And I don't apologize for believing in my community, to believe that we worth more than that. But, you know, I'm open to a conversation about it. In the meantime, I'm fighting to make sure that all of our dollars go into the classroom and into our student support services programs and to our teachers. I'm fighting to make sure that we have the things that we need. And I'm fighting to make sure that our kids and community know who they are and are willing to stand up for themselves. You got a problem with that? Then it is what it is. I'm open to a conversation. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Monday. Thanks for listening. Peace.